There are very few personalities in the YouTube photography sphere that are as controversial as Ken Wheeler's. Ken is also known as the Angry Photographer, but his YouTube handle is rather obscure. It's Theoria Apophasis. Ken is a video-making machine, and he certainly offers up a variety of strong opinions about camera gear, corporate chills, and other YouTube photography personalities. Ken prides himself on not having any affiliate links or corporate sponsorships, but he's clearly a really big fan of Fuji. But he's also made it very clear about his disdain for both Sony and Sigma. Now, in spite of his controversial rants and takedowns of fellow YouTubers, Ken has steadily risen from the depths of obscurity just a few years ago to near the top of the ranks in the YouTube photography space. Now, this might have something to do with his seemingly insatiable desire to pump out video after video after video. Most of his videos consist of him sitting at his computer desk staring into the camera with a piece of camera equipment or camera gear and just ranting, anywhere from 5 to 20 minutes at a time with hardly any editing whatsoever. And he does this 3 to 5 times a day or more. In fact, Ken just broke the 5,000 videos barrier, and he's done it in just 3 short years. So how does he do it? What drives him? And what does he have to say to his detractors? Well, I just had the opportunity to meet up with Ken at his Fort Myers, Florida home, and he had the opportunity to answer those questions and a whole lot more. So let's find out what he has to say as we delve into the mysterious world of Ken Wheeler, also known as the Angry Photographer. What are we using here today?
We're using the Fujifilm GFX and wow. Oh my god, look at that.
That's like...
You can see the face of God.
I'm Darren Miles with Darren Miles Photography, based here in beautiful...
sunny South Florida.
Hello, Ken.
Hello, Darren Miles. Greetings. Nice to see you. You were a lot taller than I expected. I mean, I didn't think you were short. Actually, you showed up like, oh my god. And I actually, be really honest, even though I have a crazy sense of humor, I think that he's actually one of only 3 or 4 channels that actually gives you honest, reliable, you know, totally right on the level reviews. I think he's actually a really awesome dude. He's kind of like a crossbreed between Ansel Adams and James Bond.
Just a drink. A martini, shaken, not stirred.
You know, expert photographer, and got the, you know, the suave, cool dude going on. I mean that in a very complimentary fashion, not in a joking fashion, actually. I actually like his reviews and have recommended them several times in the past.
Cool. Well, thank you very much. I'm flattered. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. So what I thought we'd do today is I personally have had a few unanswered questions that I'd like to ask Ken. Question number 1. Pretty soon, I think you might have already done it. I think you just hit your 5,000th video. And you've been on YouTube pretty steadily for about 3 years. So the question that comes to my mind, maybe I'm sure for a lot of other folks as well, what drives you to do so many videos?
I don't know. Actually, spent most of my life in deep study of a lot of stuff, translating ancient Greek and Pali, and went to photography school and grew up taking stuff apart. My dad used to work for IBM, and he'd bring home stuff that was broken in the dumpster, and you could like bring home 3 broken ones and build 1 good one. And so I've made like countless observations and watching other people's videos. You know, this is wrong. I could save somebody money. Do this, don't do that. You know, life is short. Save time, save money. I basically came to the conclusion, well, I mean, I know more than so-and-so on making videos and saving money. I'm not a video person at all. Obviously, my low-budget videos are nothing, you know, anybody is praising. They just want good information to save a buck or save some time.
One of your first early videos was The Angry Photographer and Secret Lenses. I remember that. And before you even revealed your face, I remember actually making a comment on one of your YouTube videos saying, you may not realize this, but you have the makings of a YouTube star. You probably have no recollection of that particular comment because you get millions of comments, but I actually made that comment, I think, about 3 years ago. So, touche, I was ahead of the curve.
I do remember that. I don't know if it's because I make so many videos or it's because of the content. A little bit of both, possibly.
Cool.
But, yeah, certainly not because of the looks or the personality.
This is probably one of, if there's any controversial question, this is probably one of the biggies, and that is, what do you say to the people out there who pan you pretty hard because you don't show a lot of your work? So what do you say to those folks?
It's true. Every time I do a camera review or a lens review, I do post up at least 20 or so pictures. But one thing I can't stand, because it's an absolute time killer, because I have several jobs. I translate, I do jobs. Right now it's not more than 3 or 4 jobs a month. I do a lot of writing. I'm working on the 4th edition of my book, and I'm also working on an ancient Greek translation. I think a lot of people like to take a GoPro everywhere they go with them and come home and edit a video and then insert pictures, and I'll just say, look, here's the link below. I'm not selling anything. I got more experience with lenses than everybody else combined, even if you hate me. And I read people's stuff where people pan me and they'll say, well, I hate that guy too, but I bought this lens that he recommended, and it's the best thing ever. I mean, it's just awesome. I love it, but I still hate the guy. I think people know that since I have no affiliate links and I'm not selling anything, they know I've got the experience with the lenses. They know that I could judge them, that I'm not going to spend an enormous amount more time editing videos other than posting a link saying, look, I posted 20 or 30 shots from this lens. This is my conclusion based upon an extreme spectrum of experience with both cameras and lenses. I've owned every digital camera that Nikon's ever come out with, and people know, even the Fuji lovers, the past couple of years that I've bought every Fujifilm lens and camera. Well, not every camera, not the cheaper ones. They know that I can give a spectrum of conclusion and experience based upon the other spectrum of Fujifilm lenses, and relative to other focal lengths that they know I don't need any fancy frou-frou stuff, because you can make, as has been the case with several Nikon ambassadors that I've pointed out, made me furiously angry, like the 105 f1.4 that Nikon came out with. One of their ambassadors posted some images, and he made the mistake of posting some straight out of camera images. They might have been cropped, and then he posted the way he wished they looked. And nobody should do that on a new lens, because you're not buying someone else's Photoshop skills when you buy a new lens. And I always post straight out of camera images on new lenses, so I really don't, I'm absolutely certain, not my opinion, that showing heavily edited images from some lens to make it look the absolute best it possibly can after Photoshop or Capture One does anything to represent the true nature or quality of the lens. Kind of like taking, some extremely ugly person and spending 10 hours of makeup and make them look halfway decent. It just,
like virtually every magazine cover.
Exactly. Say it the way it is, and so people know I don't sell stuff. They know I have the lens experience. If they hate me, fine. Don't hate me, fine. But they know they're going to get at least a Consumer Reports sort of report on a new camera lens.
What do you think is the one area that's seriously lacking from YouTube photography channels? If there was one thing that you would like to see more emphasis from, like even channels that you like, what would that one topic be that you'd like to see more of?
Lighting. Really, there's not too many people doing lighting, but it bores the hell out of everybody. Nobody's interested in it, but everything is lighting.
Where did your fascination with magnetism come from?
I've always been a field theory nut. It came from the Greeks, and they're trying to comprehend.
Just real quick to interrupt, in part of my ignorance, what is field theory? I tried a thumbnail sketch of it.
The fundamental basis behind electrical engineering, understanding what dielectricity, electrostatics are, magnetism and their relationship to one another, their geometry, how they work, why things are the way they are, fundamental cosmic mechanics ultimately. And the entire 100% of the visible universe is due to magnetism only. As we grew up in school, our teachers taught us the one thing they got right out of the 99% that they got wrong, saying that inside every atom is 99.9999999% empty space. And, well, it's not empty, and space is not a thing. We can't reify a thing. It's actually magnetodielectricity, the so-called air, or the interatomic molecular diameter of any atom in picometers is due to magnetism. In other words, 100% of the visible universe is due to magnetism, but if you go to billion-dollar commercial websites, and most magnets come from China, they'll actually tell you on their frequently asked question page, and they all have them, how does magnets? Well, we don't know. So everything operates necessitatively so. TVs, cell phones, especially microphones you're holding there, off of magnets, but actually nobody has a comprehension or an explanation of what magnetism is, how it works, why it works. Instantaneous action at a distance, because everything today is based upon atomism, and you actually cannot define a field without particle interactions, and it's impossible to actually define field theory or define magnetism through particlism or two-way messenger particles.
Way beyond me. You also talk about how you spent a lot of time in Russia. How much time did you spend in Russia? What were you doing over there?
Almost 4 years. I got a degree in Russian translation. I first went to Leningrad. I stayed at the Gostiniца Metallurg, which is not far from the Pribaltiskaya Gostiniца, now, of course, St. Petersburg. Then I went back and spent an enormous amount of time in Vladimir. It's 130 kilometers northeast of Moscow. A town about the size of Fort Myers. And I used to do paid for translations for government and also police department. Most fun I ever had was being paid $100 an hour to yell at Russian criminals. I'd yell at them in English and then I'd yell at them in Russian, and I had to develop a very interesting, sinister laugh. Well, I didn't have to, but it made things better when I'd actually, yell at criminals. And it was so much fun. I get all my stress out, and I was being paid, back then anyway, an enormous amount of money.
You definitely have some opinions, some strong opinions about some YouTubers that are out there, some of the bigger YouTubers that are out there. What is it about them that drives you the most crazy, I guess, or what is it about them that makes you, like, lashing out's too strong of a word, makes you criticize them?
As a hardcore Greek Neoplatonist, I make a fine dividing line between doxa and episteme, opinions and empirical facts. Everybody has an opinion and everybody's entitled to it. I don't care what camera anybody does or doesn't like. I don't make a dime off of any of these damn camera companies. Other than getting a free t-shirt, I've gotten nothing from any of them. I just wish they'd at least be honest and state empirical facts and separate out that from their opinions. I've stated what I absolutely hate about Sony. Their ergonomics I absolutely hate. I'm sure it fits somebody with tiny hands really well.
Say, Donald, you have the most beautiful hands. Right?
I hate their menu system, but where it deserves praise, I did. I praised the eye autofocus, extensively on the Sony, the last A7 III, but people chose to ignore that and focus in upon the stuff that, that I criticized about the camera, that and the ethos that revolves around Sony. But as far as the other YouTube photography channels, it's become way too commercialized. Everybody has a bazillion affiliate links. I've never had one. And it's all been about self-generating revenue rather than YouTube started out with, hey, this is Joe Schmo. I got some helpful info here. I'll show you how to change out the carburetor on your car and save you $100. There needs to be more of that. It's not that I bemoan anybody being popular and making a bunch of money. So at least for God's sakes, be a little bit more honest and, evidentiary instead of,
There's a lot to criticize about Sony, but they've done a lot of good things too. I think, given Nikon's reaction now with the Z mount, and obviously Canon's going to come out with something too, I think Sony, much like FedEx and UPS, for example, I think they tend to make each other better companies, and ultimately, as consumers, we do win. For all of Sony's faults, and there are many, in my opinion, they put out gear way before it's ready, in a lot of cases. But they've pushed the envelope. They've created new things that are innovative that clearly photographers are excited about. So you have to give them at least credit for that, because at least Nikon is responding. Whether mirrorless is the future, everybody seems to think mirrors are going to go away. I'm not 100% convinced that mirrorless cameras are the way to go, me personally. Do you have a position on that, or what do you think?
Well, still 100% of the people, hardcore sports action wildlife shooters, are using all DSLRs. Nikon is an extremely stuck-up company. I've attacked Nikon, and I have at least 80 or more videos attacking Nikon for the stupid stuff that they've done. They're extremely stuck-up IBM-like company. I've attacked Fujifilm for some of the very, very few things that they've messed up, and I actually heard about it firsthand, and one of the videos I attacked their lens caps, rightly so. There's absolutely horrible lens caps, and a guy who works over in Japan for IEEE, met with a huge Fujifilm exec, and she told another Fujifilm guy, I forgot his name, I used to know his exact name, he had a hissy fit over me, and he was told to go back to the drawing board and redesign, and Fujifilm did do that. My gripe was legitimate.
You've mentioned once before that where you make money is not in fashion. There's so much competition for that.
All this money, and you're the one that said it, oh man, you were in my live stream, and I said all these people, and it is glamorous. Take pictures of hot naked chicks or semi, of course that's one. There's no money there though. There is no money.
It's like for every 100 photographers that wants to do that, there's one or two that want to do product photography or real estate photography.
There's so much. If you look around at some of the product photography that's done for like Target and other, it's like, that's horrible. I could blindfold myself and get drunk and do a better job. There's a ton of money out there, but it's not in anything glamorous at all. But there's some of the stuff like product photography. You sit in your underwear watching the TV, and make considerable amount of money doing a product photography, or just show up and take a few shots at a corporate gig, at an event, or do shots for people's business websites, which is so highly in demand. There is a ton of demand. When I go walking around, I made a video about this last month, with an Icon D4 downtown Fort Myers, where there's just a lot of wealthy people that have wealthy businesses. Where's your card at? You know, I desperately need this work, I need that. Well, there's a ton of work out there. People complain about money in photography, but they're all trying to find it in, you know, in the stuff that people on YouTube are pushing, you know.
The September issue was kind of a big deal, like Elle and, you know, Vogue and Vanity Fair. They'd always put out their September issue, which is like the big fashion issue. There's a big article, I just read it, I think it was in Newsweek or somewhere, I forget, but basically how the September issue is dead. Like it's gone from like 300 pages down to like 100 pages because there's no advertising. Nobody wants to do print anymore. It's all digital.
Yeah, Benjamin Kanarek is a buddy of mine. He's a famous fashion photographer in Paris. Said that some of it's going towards digital, but I don't even think he himself even knows the answer to that from what he's told me. I don't know. That's his arena, but you're right on that, but I don't know what's going to happen.
Well, let me get into the closing remarks. So, for the record, thank you for doing this, by the way. I really appreciate me coming on. Well, when Ken does his live streams, my kids actually watch it, and they know who he is, which kind of... Anyway, so beside the point. Last couple of things, just real quick. Do you have any questions for me?
Not really. I think you're a really cool dude when you showed up, and I've always, appreciated and praised your videos. And so Darren Miles is the good. Him and Steve Perry, and I know there's two, Mark Smith, down to earth, real. Darren Miles is real as cornbread and grits, and that's a Southern thing. Some people don't know what grits are, probably.
I lived in Memphis for a while.
Okay.
So.
I mean that, though. I don't fake praise anybody, and anybody that's watched my videos knows that's the case, because I get way too much flack from people who say, God, you're so critical. It's like, I'm not critical. I can spot genuine people. I'm a bit nutty. But
One camera, one lens. Go.
Nikon D850 with a 24mm f1.4 glued onto it. It depends on what I'm shooting. If it's slow stuff, I mean, to sports action wildlife, it would have to be D850. If it were just, slow stuff, GFX and the 45mm.
Well, it's just real quick, just a couple of channels I've been paying attention to lately. Have you heard of Sean Tucker? Have you been?
Yeah, I know I've seen a video of his. I've a short-term, I'm bad with names too.
He's one of those that's gone from like 10,000 subscribers to like 150,000 subscribers in like 2 months or 3 months. And his videos are really good. He's a very down-to-earth, he has a very good way of expressing, I think, what a lot of us are thinking, but just don't know how to articulate. He does a brilliant job of that. I don't know if you watched even his latest video as to why he switched to Sony.
And Manny Ortiz. I mean, I made a video when he came out with the A7 III review, and a non-fake, genuine review. I don't love the camera, but I said, everybody go check out Manny Ortiz's video. He's a genuine guy, and it's a great video. And I think he's a police officer, someone told me.
I think, well, actually, I actually talked to Manny. I asked him a question. He gave me his number. Hey, Manny, what's up, man? He gave me his number to reach out to him. We talked for a while. Solid guy. He was thinking about moving to Florida, and it's like, really? But he ended up staying in Chicago, unfortunately. But really great Sony stuff. I mean, his videos are very down to earth. What I like about Manny is like he's unbelievably humble because he's relatively new to photography, and it took a lot of guts to put out a video out there that says you don't need to have a lot of talent to do this. That's a scary thing to put out there because a lot of guys who've been doing this for a long time, that's the last thing they want to hear. That especially the guys that grew up when they actually had to calculate things like how far the light had to be from the subject and the power and the light meters. I mean, those days are kind of gone.
Well, except for lighting ratios, you still need a light meter for that. But yeah, you're right. I mean, my buddy who's a wedding photographer told me, he said, some of these YouTube photography channels are a bit too arrogant. He said, what do they think they are, brain surgeons? They're holding a camera and pressing a shutter on Facebook. Of course, it's infinitely more complex than that. I'm not saying that it is, but, he slightly has a point. I mean, we're supposed to be either enjoying this or making money at it or both. Yeah. And of course we've all gotten into the gear wars, like, oh, Sony sucks, Fuji's great back and forth. It's, Nikon's horrible, DSLRs are dead. It's like, okay, Yeah.
Well, what do you say we go downtown to Fort Myers and go shoot?
Yay!
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, Darren Miles Photography, based here in beautiful sunny Southwest Florida, and you're Ken Wheeler.
Hey, yeah, I'm the fat tattooed guy that looks like Uncle Fester, and lately everybody tells me I look like a thumb, which is pretty accurate. And welcome to sunny Southwest Florida. Oh yeah.
Thank you for your time, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right.
That was a bit over.
Are we recording? We are. All right, so here we are now. That's Ken Wheeler.
Hey!
We're gonna go downtown Fort Myers and do some picture taking. So we'll keep you up. I'll probably add that to the video as well. So, hello YouTube. Sweet. So we are downtown Fort Myers right now.
Downtown Fort Myers. It's beautiful and clean.
And that's Ken Wheeler, everybody.
Hi! Welcome to sunny South Florida.
All right, so I'm walking with Ken Wheeler right now at downtown Fort Myers, and kind of a little bit of an experiment. I'm utilizing his Fujifilm GFX, which a lot of you probably know he's praised ceaselessly about. I had the first opportunity to actually shoot with it. I have to say, I kind of like it. And Ken, much to his demise, is utilizing my Sony A7R Mark III with the brand new Sigma 14mm f1.8 FE fat butt lens. So, hey, we're walking around, checking it out.
Look at that front element. It looks like the top of a witch's crystal ball. All ultra-wide angle lenses like this have to be bulbous by necessity.
Yeah.
I mean, Tamron's no different, or Nikon.
But that's a 1.8, which is
I know.
pretty amazing. So,
I know, and Nikon and others can't pull it off like Sigma can.
yeah,
on
Sigma's
the,
pretty gutsy in that
really
regard.
fast. They are.
Oh, watch out for that. Pardon me. You can actually get surprisingly good bokeh. Well, it is f1.8. It's 14mm f1.8. You can actually get really surprisingly good bokeh at f1.8. I kind of like it.
That too.
Good drive to it though. The viewfinder? Yeah, it's prettier through the viewfinder.
So seriously.
Oh, wait. All right, so the day is almost over here. We had a pretty good opportunity to photograph. I actually got a couple really good portraits of Ken Wheeler that I hope he actually puts on the banner page of his YouTube channel. I'll be only mildly insulted if you don't.
Good
just
photography, but there's no such thing as a good picture of me.
Well, admittedly, I didn't have a whole lot to work with, but he actually made it pretty easy. He actually is a pretty decent subject. He listens. Tilt your head this way, turn this way, hold the camera that way. Got some really good background. Had a chance to utilize his GFX, which I have to say I was very, very impressed with. It's a much better camera than I thought it was going to be, although I'm not ready to spend $5,000 and buy into another system. $6,500. Thank you. I'm not ready to buy into another system. I'm good for right now, but I understand why and what the appeal is to the GFX. It was way better than I thought it was going to be. So anyway, signing off here from Fort Myers. I'm Darren Miles from beautiful, sunny Southwest Florida, and that's Ken Wheeler. Thanks much. Bye. Let me see that thing. Show me that. Holy shit.
Oh.
And
Ooh.
that puts the Z mount to, that's an Envy. That's Mount Envy.
Sexy!
Whoa. Huge.
I mean, this fat tattooed idiot sitting here with, over 500 lenses. I mean, I'm not a total gear. Well, I was about to say gear slut, but I'm not going to say that.
You just did.
I know.